understand that the universe was created by God's command. Somebody said, "What version are you reading, man?" I'm reading the Holman Christian Standard Version. I particularly like the Holman Christian Standard um, version, but I also do every now and then refer back to the New King James Version for you, um, and I give you both, right? And y'all know I also like to dwell sometimes in the Amplified. Um, but right now we're in the Holman Christian Standard Version of the Bible. So again, verse 3: By faith we understand that the universe was created by God's command, so that what is seen has been made by things that are not visible. And see, here's the thing. Somebody said, "Well, what does that have to do with anything?" Again, we're going to get down to verse 6, which tells us that without faith it is impossible to please God, right? And so many times the issues that we have is that we have allowed the world's teaching, allowed the world's thinking to infiltrate our mind, and the world will tell you. We listened to the sermon on yesterday. Yesterday was a Take Me Back Tuesday, and we listened to a sermon by Reverend Jasper Williams Sr. entitled God Is. I think it's from way back in like 1987 or 78, one of the two. But anyhow, and he talked about how God is a God of order, and how just how real God is, how powerful God is, and how particular God is. And I want you to see and begin to know and understand. See, it talks about here in Hebrews how the whole universe verse was made at God's command out of things that are not seen. And yet, when science tells us that there was a big bang, we're more likely to believe that than to believe that what caused the big bang was that one day my God just spoke, and things that we can't see, microscopic things like atoms and things of that nature began to come together. Molecules began to come together, and they began to form what it is that we have now. Everything on this earth, we understand, is made up of atoms. Everything that's on this earth, we understand, is made up of tiny microscopic particles, but yet we still tend to doubt that God is real. We still seem to doubt that God is able. Friends, when we talk about faith unshakable, when we talk about faith unshackled, you first have to believe. You've got to believe that God is real. He goes on to say, he says, they that come to me must first believe that I am. Another translation may say it this way: they that come to me must first have faith that I exist, right? And then the second part of it, so once you know that God is real, the second part of it says, and that I am a rewarder of them that diligently seek me. Oh yeah, this world that we live in is gonna do all that it can to try to sway you and to get you to a point and to a place to where you don't believe in God. I mean, there's so much going on now. I mean, on every side, on every hand, there's something that's trying to show you and prove to you that God isn't real, that God doesn't know what he's doing. I'm not picking on anybody, but even when you go and you look at folks who say, well, I was born the wrong way. Again, I'm not picking on nobody, and I love everybody. But if we believe that God is, and we believe that God is a good God, that God is real, then we must also believe that God don't make no mistakes. One of my favorite movies is Idlewild, and they have a saying, right? Between the two main characters, or two best friends in there, they say, God don't make no mistakes. And the other one say, you ain't said nothing slick to a can of oil. I need you to know and understand that God is real and he makes no mistakes. If he was just so meticulous to put the sun right in the center and then put our earth right in the right position to where everything would form and be in balance and we'd have life. And if one of our planets or one of the things were just slightly out of alignment, then this whole thing would be off shifted. The whole thing would fall apart, and our sun, our Earth rather, would begin to move too close to the sun if it didn't have the gravitational pull of other things around it. I mean, even the simple fact of the moon that we have. I'm telling you, see, we've got to begin to believe. Here's why Hebrews 11 is so important and so pivotal in the life of the believer. This is why I believe that the foundation, as we begin to integrate new Christians, as we begin to bring new folks into the fold, the reason why one of the scriptures or the places I like to start them off in is Hebrews, is because when you get to Hebrews 11, first it gives you a definition of what faith is. And if you're still not satisfied with that, then it begins to give you examples. I've preached the sermon before, and it was entitled God's Faith Reviews when you read Hebrews 11. But then you go on, right? It says, so, verse number 4, by faith, Abel offered God a better sacrifice than Cain did. Abel didn't know exactly what a better sacrifice was. He just knew, this is what I have and this is what I'm going to give. He purposed in his heart, I'm going to give God the very best that I've got. Nobody had ever done it before. It had never happened before. But he just decided, there's something in me that he's been too good to me. He's walked with me, he's talked with me, he's kept me, he's delivered me. So why don't I just give? You remember we talked about it a few days ago, that if you want to go to the next level in an unshackled faith, I dare you to take the shackles off your giving. So Abel, he gave a better sacrifice. Then it says, by faith, he was approved as a righteous man because God approved. Mattered. I want to show you here today that your giving, it matters. The faith that you give your gifts with matters. We cannot any longer afford to just haphazardly give. But no, we've got to attach our faith to it. I've heard people say it for years and years. Oh, this right here, this seed that I'm giving, this seed is so that my baby can go to college debt free. This seed that I'm giving right here is so that this can happen, or so that this can happen. We've got to begin to attach our giving with our faith. Lord, here's the thing about it. God doesn't need you to give so that you can be healed. God never required anybody who was healed to give him something. But what I can tell you is that your sacrifice, your giving moves God, because the more that you give, the more that God desires to give to you. The more that God does and yeah, the more that he does give to you. Because heaven's economy is this: give, and it shall be given. Give, and it shall be given, but not just given. See, because you gave, right? And you gave with a spirit of expectancy. You gave just knowing that God was going to bless. But God said, listen, let me take you to the next phase in this. Hold on, Andre Crouch. I don't need you to come in just yet. All right, pause it. All right. That makes me know my time is just about up. So let me hurry up and wrap this, and we're gonna pick it back up on tomorrow. But see, you gave, right? Just expecting God to do something. Yeah, you expected him to give something. But can I just tell you? Can I just tell you that what God is looking for and what God is gonna do? Again, this is how heaven's economy works. God's looking at your gift. And he says, all right, now I'm going to give. All right? I'm going to give. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And you're like, well, God, how you going to give it? How you going to give it? He said, I'm going to cause men to give. unto your bosom. But the problem is every time somebody tries to bless you with something, you be like, nah, I'm good. I don't want nobody. I don't want nobody, saying they did such and such for me. So nah, I'm good. And God's like, look, I'm trying to bless you. Here I am trying to bless you, and you want to turn down every blessing that I send your way. Can I help somebody on today? God's trying to bless you because you've been a blessing. How does God be a blessing? Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. He's going to cause men to give unto your bosom. I need somebody to grasp hold of this on today. I need you to know and to recognize and to realize that God, he honors that gift when it's attached with your faith. So, by faith, Abel offered God a better sacrifice than Cain, and by faith, he was approved as a righteous man because God approved his gifts. Even though he is dead, he still speaks through his faith. Can I tell you, this is the next thing as we begin to talk about faith unshackled and faith unshakable. Your faith will speak for you even after you're long gone. I'm still speaking about the faith of my grandfather, Mr. Cleveland Nash, who couldn't read right very well or couldn't read much at all, but still built homes and still provided for 8 children and a wife. He still, owned property and business. You see how God's faith, when you just trust God. My grandfather had one simple saying, and again, your faith is going to speak for you even beyond your time here on this earth. My grandfather had a saying, and I live by it to this day. If you can trust God for one thing, then just trust him in all things. My grandfather didn't have much education because he had to go and be a sharecropper and help the family provide. But he understood and he knew, if I can just trust God in this one thing, oh, I can trust him in all things. I can trust him in all things. I need somebody to know, that you've got to have faith. I'm telling you, this thing about faith, it's so big, it's so real. Because see, here's the thing. Again, our entire way of life is dependent upon faith. Our entire way of life, right? It's centered around faith. Faith in God. Faith that he is. Faith that he will do. Faith, right? Oh my God, my God! Listen, I've got to close this thing because we've got some other stuff coming up. But I'm gonna just read this last verse so that we can pick up with verse number 6 again. Hebrews 11, verse 5. By faith, Enoch was taken away, so he did not experience death, and he was not found because God took him away. For prior to his removal, he was approved, since he had pleased God. Now somebody said, well, what was it about him that pleased God? And why what about this faith that was so big for him? Look, God tells us, right, through his word, verse number 6. Now without faith, it's impossible to please God. For the one who draws near to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. Friends, I need you to know, I need you to understand that God is looking. He's looking. I've said it before, and I've quoted the scripture before, and I'm going to quote it one more time for you. But what is it? I want to say Second Chronicles. I'm gonna just give you the scripture, and you've got to find it. The eyes of God, right? They wander to and fro throughout the earth, seeking whom he can show himself strong to. And who is it that he's going to show himself strong to? He is going to show himself strong to the one who is faithful. All right? I need you to know, I need you to grasp hold. I need you to understand that my God, he wants to bless you. the reason why some of the things that you have been praying for, the things that you've been trusting Him for, the things you've been searching for and asking for, the reason why they haven't come for you, you may want to check your faith. Check your faith. Make sure that your faith, right, is where it ought to be. He said, listen, you've got to come to me without wavering, without doubting, right? No, you've got to come to him in faith. And I know. Somebody said, well, preacher, that's easy for you. God comes through for you. God always blesses you. Listen, let me just tell you, it ain't always been easy. Listen, I'm gonna just share this with you. Let me share this with you, and I'm gonna close on this. Sometimes, sometimes I've shared this. Matter of fact, I shared this a couple of weeks ago. So if nothing else, take from this that I'm walking by faith day by day. I've shared this, like I said, a few weeks ago. God showed me that there was three things, right? Well, I'll say three, four things that I was supposed to do, or that I would do with my life. He showed me that I would be a pastor. I already knew that. He showed me that I would be a husband. I got that, right? He showed me that I would be an author and that I would write books and all that. I got that, okay? But then the fourth thing, he showed me that I would be a father. And to this day, I'm like, God, where? God, when? But I have to have that faith. I trust him. See, I had to learn. I had to see, oh, Lord, I could go on and on about this thing. But see, I need somebody to know and understand I'm 37 years old. My clock ain't running out, right? My clock ain't running out, but I'm looking at things, and I know what the world says, that by a certain time you ought to have had some kids by a certain point in certain time. I know that I'm not doing anything to keep myself from having kids, right? Me and my wife, we're not doing anything to keep ourselves from having kids, but yet they have not yet manifested. Right? We've seen them in visions. We've seen them in dreams. We've got names for them, right? But yet, God, we're waiting, we're wondering, right? But I've learned how to trust in God. I've learned that my faith is in God, and God, I just trust you. I've learned, Lord, I thank you for the God children that you gave me. But I understand and also recognize and realize, while I'm grateful for them, you showed me out of my own loins, right? This is my faith. This is my prayer that I pray to the Lord. So when you say, hey, it's easy for you, let me tell you, it ain't always been easy. I've had friends who've gone on and gotten pregnant, and I know what I mean, like their wives have gotten pregnant. And I rejoiced for them. But then when I was at home alone, I cried because I'm like, Lord, when is it gonna be my turn? So this thing about faith, listen, you've gotta fight the good fight of faith. Paul told Timothy, and I'm trying to wrap this thing up, but Paul told Timothy, he said, Timothy, you've got to fight the good fight of faith. Why is it a fight? Because the enemy, every day, the enemy is going to try to attack your faith. Every day, the enemy is going to try to come against you, and he's going to try to bring things up that are going to just go against and contrary to what it is that you believe and what you've been professing. And you've got to make a conscious decision. Either you're going to trust him, right? Or you're going to fall on the ground and just wallow in your sorrow. And you're going to, I mean, was that Yolanda said? As a matter of fact, let me, Yolanda, come forth. Let me call this song up. I'm gonna play two songs. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna play um, "Let the Church Say Amen" by Andre Crouch and Marvin Winans. But I also want to play Yolanda Adams, right? Yolanda Adams with "The Battle Is Not Yours, It's the Lord's." So let's start off with that, and then once we have that, I'm gonna come back with Andre Crouch um, with "The Battle Is the Lord's." All right, but before I go, I just remembered, and I don't want to go too far before I forget. So the Foundation House is serving lunch. All right, the foundation is serving lunch today from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. The foundation is serving lunch, and today they've got baked chicken, fried pork chops, and beef stew. Oh yeah, that beef stew sounds good. Then they've got rice and gravy, red beans, green beans, corn, or yams. All right, those are your sides. You get two sides, so you can choose between those. Then you get your choice of a cornbread or a roll. It's a good meal, great meal, really, at a good price. And if you're looking for something good to eat on today, something that's gonna hold you until you make it home this evening. Really, they give you enough in a portion to where you can have some for lunch and then save it for dinner or share it with a coworker or something like that, then stop by the Foundation House. Again, 720 Enterprise Boulevard, or you can call your order in ahead of time, 337-433-3266. Again, that's 337-433-3266. The Foundation House, all right? The historic, as a matter of fact, Foundation House, located at 720 Enterprise Boulevard. Let me give you that menu one more time, then I'm going to close it out. Baked chicken, fried pork chops, beef stew. Then you get rice and gravy, your choice of red beans, green beans, corn, or yams. All right. Then you get a choice of cornbread or roll. All right. Now, here's Yolanda Adams with The Battle is the Lord's. Coming up in the next 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I'm going to be giving away a free lunch to the Foundation House. So keep it locked so that you can win a free lunch today, right here on 93.5 KPPM, your community minded station.